Coming up on Network Africa, Nigeria's headline inflation declines for the first time in 15 months. Ethiopia's rubbish dump debt toll rises to 72. And Somalis gather in the capital Mogadishu to pray for rain amid a severe drought in the country. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Temitope Fagbemi. We begin today's program here in Nigeria, where the headline inflation has declined for the first time in 15 months, showing 17.78% year-on-year in February from 18.72% posted in January. According to the National Bureau of Statistics' latest report released today, food inflation rose to 18.53% year-on-year from 17.82% and 1.99% month-on-month from 1.29% in January. Core inflation declined to 16% year-on-year in February from 17.9%. Urban inflation fell to 18.57% year-on-year from 20.31%, while rural inflation dipped to 16.98% from 17.34% in January. Well, let's get on the story from our business editor, Bosina Mofaye, who joins us live on the program. You're welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
So what do you make of this new inflation figure?
Well, it shows that basically you have, if you take out the base effect, you still have inflation in the local economy. 17.78% is still very high. If you're looking at interest rate at about 23%, single-digit inflation rates will be appropriate. The target that the central bank monetary policy had for about 2 years was about 9%. We're well above that figure as we speak. So 17%, almost 18% is still very high to grow the economy, and that is where we are right now, even though this is a bit of a lower downtrend.
Now, we've rolled out a lot of figures, but what exactly does this mean for the ordinary man on the streets?
Well, it means that where we are hopeful. It means that if you look at towards the end of last year and the first 2 months of 2017, you've seen month-on-month inflation trending a little bit downward as the government tries to control a number of the variables that contribute to inflation, basically prices of petrol products, kerosene, diesel, and petrol, kerosene, and diesel. Then you have transportation costs. All these have feed through into the inflation. Then you have food prices, which is the most knotty and issue for us, because once we move out of seasonal period, you have to go into our planting season, you go to the harvest season. Meantime, we're doing a number of a lot of food imports in the country, so you have pressure on our FX, and this will also find its way back into the marketplace, in which people on the streets still see prices of goods and services not as coming down, but remain a little bit stubbornly high, but we're trying to control that.
So does this decline mean the fiscal authorities are beginning to do what we expect them to do?
Well, it means something is happening somewhere. We may not be able to put our fingers on it, and that's my personal belief, that something is happening somewhere. It may not be really coordinated in a formal way in which you can have it on paper and say this is exactly what is going on. But it means that somehow the authorities, both at the fiscal side and the monetary side, are trying to rein inflation, trying to use that as a basis to lower interest rate and engineer some growth for the economy. Look at the forecast we have in the new economic plan, 7% by the year 2020. That's 4 years. Some forecasts for this year between 0.6% to about 2.3% growth recovery in 2017. This has to happen somehow. For that to happen, inflation will have to come down, interest rate will have to come down also from double digit to a level at which credit can flow into the private sector, can flow to SMEs. There can be more jobs in hiring at the private sector, not government employing people. You have to make sure that food prices go down. You have to tame the price of petrol products, and the price of electricity will also have to moderate as well. Transportation costs will have to moderate. You need to stimulate the economy, but this is just one of the variables that if we're looking at a recovery and out of recession in 2017, this is one step into it. Perhaps that is beginning to tick tock, not sounding like an alarm, but perhaps we can walk our way through to a gentle recovery, and perhaps this is one way of getting it started.
Now, finally, Bosun, the MPC meeting holds next week. What direction do you think that will go, considering this new inflation report?
Some analysts say, well, perhaps the central bank will do nothing for now, hoping to see whether this inflation trending lower is still soft or is solid enough to be able to build a different interest rate regime around it. That is something that will be, we just have just about a week to wait. Some say it will not happen. But again, you never can game the central bank. Central bankers always have a mind of their own. They see more than the man on the street and the rest of us see. So they may decide to say, look, let's do a little bit of haircuts on interest rate, and perhaps that will stimulate something and keep inflation lower and economic growth moving.
Oh, Bosun Omofaya, Channel's business editor, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, moving on to the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia's parliament has declared 3 days of national mourning for the victims of the rubbish dump collapse in the capital Addis Ababa as recovery operations continue. 72 people have now been confirmed dead following a landslide at the weekend. Many people are still missing, and authorities fear the death toll could rise even further. Rescue operations are ongoing, and city authorities say they will continue until everyone is accounted for. Meanwhile, the government and locals living in the area have traded accusations about what triggered the landslide. Residents say an ongoing construction of a biogas plant caused it, but the government has dismissed the claims, insisting people had refused an offer to be relocated. The country's prime minister has pledged to carry out an investigation of the disaster. For the first time in 5 years, suspected Somali pirates have hijacked a ship off the coast of Somalia. The ship sent a distress signal yesterday evening saying it was being approached by high-speed boats. The gunmen have told a local official they are fishermen whose equipment was destroyed by illegal fishing vessels. Piracy was rampant off the Somali coast until increased patrols by European naval forces contained the problem. The vessel was en route from Djibouti to the Somali capital Mogadishu and was then diverted towards the port of Alula in the semi-autonomous region of Puntland. Its tracking system has reportedly been switched off. The Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry has confirmed that 8